Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So this is like take two. Tried to record this and I just made it way too long. But anyways, just quick video update for you guys on the channel. And first of all, shout out to everybody who watched yesterday's videos. I dropped a couple of videos and I didn't expect to get that kind of view, and it got some pretty good views. So I'm very humbled and appreciative of that. So thank you guys so much for checking it out. Now, this may not be like a banger like those videos with, like, you know, immediate headline news type stuff, but I'll let you guys know where, basically in the comment section, I will timestamp where the next subject begins, so you guys can just quickly jump to that if there's like a specific subject you guys want to hear and not the entire thing. I understand some people are like that, so I will try to. I'll put timestamps. I'll put timestamps in this video. Anyways, let's kind of move on. So first of all, Google Pixel 6 announced date of event, okay? Not when it launches, okay? The 19th is when we're gonna finally see this thing on the stage, and they're gonna talk about it and show us everything about it, talk about all the new aspects of it. We're gonna get all that stuff. Now, unfortunately, I might be busy on that day because I got some things coming up in my personal life and they're more important. I really have to do them. So I may not be able to do a live reaction, but I will react to the event some form of way. Maybe I'll watch the replay and do like a live reaction to the replay. Even though a lot of people are already gonna have all the ins and outs and be talking about it on YouTube, I'll be late to the game on that, just like I'll be late to the game buying one, because I'm not gonna buy one until probably December. However, I will react to it. So sure enough, for those people who actually want to hear my perspective on it, I'll have a video talking about it. So, but I mean, right now, I'm gonna give you guys my guess. And here's my guess for the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro of what I think pricing is going to be. And so I think the Pixel 6 is gonna launch at a $750 price tag, so $749.99. I think for the base model, right? If you go for a higher storage capacity, it's gonna be $100 more. And I think for the Pixel 6 Pro, it's going to go at an $899 price tag. And then for, you know, $100 for a higher storage capacity. That's my guesstimate. Of course, the coolest things about it is, obviously, I'm hearing is that it's actually using a modem from Samsung and not a modem from Qualcomm, since they are using their own chip, the Tensor chip. And so I'm really kind of excited now to really see how this thing's gonna perform, network testing and all that other stuff, as well as the cameras and there's all that good stuff. You know me, I'm a Pixel fanboy, guilty as charged. Anyways, this one I want to move on from that is actually talking about US Cellular. I don't really discuss US Cellular on this channel, and I'm going to start doing that, you know, because there are some people who use US Cellular. If you don't know who they are, they're a Chicago-based company out from the Midwest. Their areas of where they service is mostly the Midwest and Northern California, and you know, some other places too as well, obviously. That sounds pretty dumb, but they're not like completely nationwide. And so an interesting article that I read is that US Cellular has begun to phase out its 3G. And I know this is like something that we hear a lot of with the battle between Dish Wireless and T-Mobile. T-Mobile wanting to phase out Sprint's CDMA come January 1st, and people are in, you know, they're in disagreement of that, and they're kind of going back and forth. But you know, we have to also kind of look at a different side of this thing, right? Like, while people will be upset and be like, oh, they're phasing out 3G, that's not fair to people and stuff like that, the network is going to evolve. We're moving forward into 5G. I understand people's concerns, and I'm not saying that people's concerns about the 3G shutdown leaving people without data isn't right, but I feel like that, you know, the way that US Cellular is approaching it is actually more of a more better way to do it. They're phasing it out little by little. They've already phased it out in Missouri, because 98% of customers on US Cellular in Missouri are using LTE only, and so they feel like it's not detrimental to their customer base in Missouri. They've already done phased out 3G there, and little by little they're going to do that in all their markets that they have, they service. They've said right now that the CDMA voice and certain areas of the EVDO are still live and active, but eventually they'll be phased out over time as they continue to upgrade sites with LTE as well as their 5G. So we've already, well, I've already read about it, you know, their 600 megahertz spectrum that they're using to build out their 5G. Obviously millimeter wave access, mid-band and low band, they're covering all areas of that and building that out for their customers. So with 3G being phased out, it's totally fine. I mean, at least they're not pulling the plug immediately. They're phasing it out little by little. And I think Verizon's approaching it the same way too with their 3G, and eventually it'll be phased out completely. I think that's the way to go. The argument with T-Mobile side is that T-Mobile just literally going to shut it down. So at least that's what I'm gathering. I could be wrong. That's what I'm gathering, that they're just going to pull the plug and that's it, LTE and 5G on T-Mobile only. But we'll see what happens. Another interesting thing that I read for fun, and this was on fiercewireless.com, and this is like Sneed's territory, right? So if you guys really want to hear about it, subscribe to Sneed Mobile Tech and you'll get all the latest info on it. But I read the article with the upcoming 3.45 gigahertz spectrum auction that's coming up, and the different analysts who are predicting like how much spectrum each company is going to buy. One analyst believes that Verizon and AT&T will buy up 40 megahertz spectrum, and that the remaining 20 will be gobbled up by smaller companies or T-Mobile. And it's very interesting to kind of see that aspect. Because 100 megahertz of the spectrum is being auctioned off, right? And so some analysts believe that AT&T will buy 40 megahertz of the spectrum, and that T-Mobile will buy out 31 megahertz of the spectrum, and 20 of it will be bought by Dish, and the remainder will be bought up by other companies. It's just weird. These analysts are predicting what they think these companies will buy. They don't know exactly what they're going to get. Now, if you're wondering what the auction is for, why did they auction the spectrum off? Obviously, it's to be fair and unbiased, right? If Verizon always gobbled up majority of the spectrum being auctioned off, say they're auctioning off another 100 megahertz of it, and Verizon's always getting like 50 megahertz or 40 megahertz of it, right? Like, people are going to look at it and say that's a bit unfair. If you don't know what spectrum is, I guess the best analogy I can explain it, and I'm not very good at it, but I'm gonna give it a crack, is that think of like data like water, okay? And the amount of spectrum a garden hose. The bigger the hose, the more data can flow through. The smaller the hose, the tighter it is for data to flow through. And so that's what spectrum is, right? 40 megahertz spectrum, big hose. 10 megahertz of spectrum, small hose. 5 megahertz of spectrum, really small hose. And so when you think of like the way that the data works and all these things, right? You try to put all the technical stuff together. Yeah, it could be mind-boggling to a certain degree, but if you really just kind of like really see where the conversation is going, listen to what they're kind of pointing out when they talk about things like C-band and CBRS and millimeter wave and all that stuff. You can really kind of put all this stuff together if you just really focus and just kind of like listen and read and learn. And so very interesting article that was on fiercewireless.com talking about, midband. And that's the center key of all this 5G build out, right? We have Verizon that was on this side of the whole thing, pushing millimeter wave, which is high band. And then you have T-Mobile kind of pushing for rural America and distance, distant connections. And that's their low band, right? Well, what holds, because all of them are going to have it. They're all going to have high, medium, and low. High, mid, and low. Midband is the center key. It's like the glue that kind of holds it together, right? Because T-Mobile just recently released its fast, data speeds on 5G. It's ultra capacity. So if you're in a market that has it, you may have noticed your 5G icon has a little UC next to it. That stands for 5G ultra capacity. And T-Mobile's now kind of like rolling that out. Verizon's been focused on that from the beginning of this race, and AT&T's kind of been on that and on midband. And so now that there's 100 megahertz of this 3.45 gigahertz spectrum being auctioned off, we'll see. We'll see. But what does this all mean? How does this all tie together? Well, if AT&T gets 40 megahertz and Verizon gets 40 megahertz, and let's say Dish and T-Mobile get 10 megahertz, then of that signal, of that band, you'll know who's going to deliver the faster speeds. You'll know because Verizon has 40 megahertz of it, AT&T has 40 megahertz of it, so they're able to withstand a lot of data traffic on that. 10 and 10, that's pretty tight. So you may get frustrated when your speeds is sluggish, and that's where spectrum plays a hand. So anyways, yeah, we finally hit it at the point. I didn't want to go too long, but let me know what your guys' thoughts are on each of the subjects I talked about in the comment section of the video. If you guys enjoyed my video today, smash that like button. And again, thank you to everybody that watched yesterday's videos. I really appreciate you guys for doing that so much. And yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow with another video. Thanks for checking out this one. As always, Allah.